The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
You're listening to
Wrestling to the Max.
Alert, clear all channels.
This is an exclusive.
How you like that?
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Down and build me up, whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes. 'Cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes. Yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wrestling to the Max's Battleground 2017 review. That's right, we're going to be talking all about Battleground, and of course we are brought to you by W2Mnet.com as well as 411mania.com. And to let you guys also know, if you want to go find more of our great content, don't forget to go subscribe, rate, and review at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. That's right, all great places to go and find our content. Plus, we are on YouTube. That's right, just search out Wrestling to the Max. You'll get everything that we have. All right, guys. Well, we are here to talk about some Battleground, and just to preface this, I know this is a little bit later. We usually try to do this the night of the show, and if we don't get it the night of, sometimes we'll try to do it Monday. But I had electrical problems here at my home, and of course that meant that I was not going to be a part of the show. Paul was already scheduled not to be on, and then Sean was left all to his lonesome. So instead of just having him cover the whole thing and just do it by himself, he decided that we all can get together a little bit later and do it, and I'm excited about that. So here we are. Of course, I am Gary Vaughan, and of course with us is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up? I probably should have prefaced the intro before we started, because I think it cuts you off there. But
no, that's okay. And Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
The intro may be kind of like the show Battleground.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it starts off nice, and then we get just dribble after that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we didn't get to do this right away. The reason we are also doing this show is because we want people to be able to listen to this. Of course, you know, if you listen to our content when it comes out, that means you guys may be listening on Tuesday before SmackDown Live, which means you kind of get our gist of what we think before we get into that show. And if not, hey, you'll at least have back-to-back shows that kind of go with SmackDown, and that's okay. We just want to make sure you guys have this content out there and available. So, I mean, there's a lot involved here that maybe we do and don't want to talk about, but we've got to start this thing off, and let's go ahead and jump into this show. I want to start off by talking about the pre-show match. That's right, the one between Aiden English and Ty Dillinger, guys. And this was one that I was a little bit shocked by the result. I kind of thought this was the time for Ty Dillinger once again to come in and get a victory, but they didn't do that. They actually had Aiden English win this match, and it was an okay back and forth. Nothing spectacular. Paul, I mean, what was your thoughts on this whole thing?
I didn't really mind the match or anything like this, and I found it quite surprising that Aiden English finally got a win, which feels like the first time he's won and what feels like his entire time on the main roster. So props to him there, but this feels odd. Unless this is finally going to get turned into more of a feud, I don't know really what the big reason to do this was, just other than shock value.
Yeah, I forgot to go back and watch the match, even though we had an extra day. But I mean, yeah, I feel like, well, Aiden English is sort of doing something, so he's going to win, and they're having Ty Dillinger not really do anything, so
yeah,
he loses.
Here's the big thing, though, Sean, that at least Aiden English can look over at Card Hawkins and say, I win. What about you? So he at least has something over Kurt Hawkins. So now I think Kurt Hawkins is the number one job machine in WWE now. I think it's official. I don't think there's anybody who's probably lost more matches lately. But any English is pretty darn close. I think it's a good thing. I think if you want people to believe that he can at least compete with everybody else, you got to have him have some victories. Ty Dillinger is the one I feel bad for, though, because of the fact he's not exactly been on TV. He's kind of new. People like him. It's just kind of funny. They bring him on board, and he's just kind of floundering, not doing anything, and kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I don't know. Do you guys worry about Ty Dillinger like I do?
I mean, I think he's hurt by the fact that the U.S. title's tied up in the main event picture right now. I don't know if they really had what they wanted to do for him when they called him up, because it seemed like he was coming in red hot, right? I mean, everybody was still fresh off of his love and everything he was doing in NXT, and suddenly they just don't seem to have a place for him anymore and don't know what to do with him. And it seems like they're just trying to cool him off. So I haven't a clue what the heck they're doing with this.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't either. And that's just, man, I want Ty Dillinger to do so well. I really, really do. And I think all of us hope that he does well. It's just at this young point in his career on the main roster, you're a little bit leery because when guys start out this slow, there tends to be a kind of a pattern after that, and you hope that they can find something for him in the near future. We'll see. Let's hop on over into the main part of this show and talk about the SmackDown tag titles. And the Usos come in as your tag champs, and they are going to face off against the New Day. And this ends up being a really, kind of up and down match. That the Usos start out pretty darn hot in this one and make you believe that they're strong, and for the fact that the New Day is not exactly getting over what they need to get done. And then when we get towards the end, the New Day have more life come into them, and they're able to squeak out the victory here at the end. And now we have the New Day back as your tag team champions, which it was always fun when they were the tag champs on Raw, but now they are tag champs on SmackDown Live, and I think they're the first men, at least, to be the tag champs on both brands. So that's kind of cool. Really neat stuff,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Paul, go ahead, Paul.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was about to just break our whole formula here. But I enjoyed the match, right? I mean, this is really, really solid. Both teams go back and forth. Surprising that the Usos dropped here, but, I mean, with the match and everything like that, I think it makes sense, and it's not like the feud has to be over either. So I look forward to more good stuff.
Yeah, this was a great match. They had a awesome, just that super kick by Jimmy Uso probably could have ended it, and I think we all would have been fine. But I loved that you also got Kofi and Xavier as a team. We don't get to see them too often, so that was nice and sort of refreshing for them. So you got to see Xavier Woods do a lot more than he usually does. Kofi was his always great self, and kind of plays into the two guys that kind of had the better of the rap battle as well. If you want to go on that end too, I really enjoyed this match. There's so many it built and had went from having some good falls to like some great near falls, and they had you biting on a few there.
Yeah, they did, and that's what was kind of fun because of the fact that this is start out the show, and all those little spots and different things that they had thrown in this match really got, I think, the crowd kind of ready to see if they could keep that pace because they had a pretty darn good start to the show, and I think the pop for the New Day, is a good thing too. Having them get the tag titles, getting the show started really hot. You were hoping that basically would kind of carry on into the rest of the show. I really didn't find any fault in this tag match. I thought it was pretty well done overall, and I was surprised in the result of this. I thought the New Day would kind of chase a little longer for those titles, but I mean, not a big deal. The Usos can now try to get back in and try to find their way to get back to the titles, but we'll see down the line. Positive stuff though, I think, at least in this match. Next match on this card, though, was Shinsuke Nakamura versus Baron Corbin. And this one was going to be, I think, a little up in the air for most of us because we were thinking, Nakamura probably is going to win this. But, there's also Baron Corbin who has the Money in the Bank briefcase. Are they going to allow him to look strong? What's going to happen here? And really what they do here is they have Baron Corbin kind of do what he's done in the past and really do a pretty decent job of being that heel that kind of gets away when he's not doing well, tries to sneak in some moves. And I think really overall they really had a lot of shine for Nakamura. He really got in a lot of offense and was looking good here. It led Baron Corbin down the road to get a low blow with a foot to the crotch to win, at least in his own mind. But this basically with a DQ gave Nakamura the victory. But wow, you saw it was a nutcracker for sure, Sean.
God.
Wow. Okay, the finish worked for Baron Corbin because he didn't lose, so that's good. And then, that's about the only thing that worked. This was bad. Shinsuke did his normal let's take the night off Shinsuke, and then you had Baron Corbin just being bad. So that's a recipe for terrible, and you have this match. I mean, Baron Corbin is a boxer, and half his stuff looks so fake, it's terrible. And, Shinsuke got to look strong, but I mean, it's like every other match that he's in, he looks strong already. So I just don't. This served no purpose, and this started the downtrend of sucking the air out of the room.
Mm-hmm. That is true. I don't know if I would say this was bad necessarily. It was, however, horrifically dull. Which is exactly what I was expecting. So I don't know if I was ever really let down at all during this part of the show yet. But, yeah, I mean, it's night off Shinsuke, and Baron is nowhere near competent enough to try to hold up an end of the bargain on that sort of scale, And I think storytelling-wise, this accomplished what it needed to. Corbin still looks like he matters. Nakamura still gets the win and all this, too, and I think until we're talking about big matches, I think this is going to be a Shinsuke we get. I think it's just how it's going to be.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, until he has that match with AJ, this is how he's going to be probably.
Or he's challenging for the title or something like that.
Yeah, I kind of understand. You want to have him basically showcase his best stuff when it matters the most, but I hate the fact that he comes out and just doesn't look all that inspiring. It just bums me out because you hear all these other people who don't know much about Shinsuke, and they all talk about why does everybody love him? He's not good, and that's not the truth. It's just that he's holding back a little bit here and taking those nights off, like Sean said. So, I really don't know if it really came out of this looking good for anybody. I think Baron Corbin, he didn't lose, I guess, but he did. Didn't get pinned. I guess that's a positive. Nakamura, victory, but laying down, holding his crotch.
What you wanted to happen happened. He did hit Shinsuke with the briefcase.
Yeah, you're right. That is true. And it's not the fact that I wanted it to happen, but I thought it could happen. But it didn't end the way I thought. I really thought that, Corbin was going to win, actually, and do it, with sneaking in that shot to the briefcase and getting the victory. But it is what it is. We're going to get this until later. Who knows?
I just want to point out that
Mm-hmm.
if you're, new to the whole Nakamura thing, this is not him doing this because it's WWE or, the people that are like, oh my God, he's here and he could have been in the G1 or whatever. Like, this is what he does normally. He doesn't go full force every match. He's, he is smart. He knows he's in an older age and says, look, I'm going to work hard when I need to, like the Sami Zayn match. And then if I don't need to, that's what you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
We got to work this into Nakamura having a new shirt, like something like instead of no days off, quite a few days off, or something like that. Have like a picture of him sitting down in a chair eating a donut or something like that. So I don't know. I just think that'd be kind of funny. We'll work on that. We'll get that done. But let's move on though, because we have some other matches that I'm sure you guys are really ready to talk about. Let's talk about the 5-way number 1 contender match for the women's title. And that, of course, included Becky Lynch, Tamina, Natalya, Charlotte, and Lana. And all these ladies went to battle. And, it was, I think, I wouldn't say bad or anything, but it was an okay match. I kind of thought it was weird for the fact that we had 3 eliminations pretty much almost in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we had, I'm trying to look here on my list here, but let's see here. I know Becky Lynch got knocked out of this around 3rd. Wasn't Tamina the first one knocked out of this? I'm looking at this, but not looking at the right thing. Yeah,
Becky
Tamina
taps out Tamina, and then she taps out Lana, and then Natty rolls up Becky.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So that kind of left us.
They happened so fast, you forgot.
I know. I just forgot what order. I forgot that Becky got to look strong for like a half minute, and then after that they said, "No, you don't, Becky."
Psych.
Yeah. No, you don't.
You get to tap out Lana, and then,
Yeah.
the thing that doesn't require any effort at all.
Feel good about yourself. You just tapped out 2 people who are not great at wrestling. So. Anyway, that's hateful. I should have never said that. But, let's talk about, Natalya and Charlotte being the main competitors here in this one. And I was really blown away. I thought they both did a pretty decent job here at the end of this match. But for Natalya to win, wow. I did not see that coming, guys. I think all of us had Charlotte winning. I mean, Sean, I'm just kind of blown away about that.
Well, this kind of came out, I think before the pay-per-view, that Natalya was sort of being the one tipped to win at a last-minute decision, as WWE does with all these decisions, right? But it was still kind of shocking because you think, oh, man, where are they at that they're choosing Natalya at this point? But when you look at it, she's really the only heel that can really wrestle that they have on that end. So, it kind of, if you want to go by those lines, then sure. They could have easily done Charlotte and Naomi and built it up as a big athletic contest or whatever. And I still think that Natalya will get the best out of Naomi, and then let's see where they go from there. But I'm glad that she's getting an opportunity.
Yeah, I think this is really great for Natalya. I mean, like you said, she's the veteran in this, and if you're worried about Naomi trying to carry somebody, that's no longer a problem. If you're looking for a great match here, on the other hand, I hate to tell you this was super rushed, and I only really ever got into it once it was just Charlotte and Natty, and even that doesn't last very long. So kind of a downer there. It's not like this is overly bad. It's just very rushed, and it doesn't come off well because of that.
That quick elimination series just was, I think, the biggest turn down and turn off for me. My emotions for it just kind of just went down completely, and I just was. I was happy for the fact that you did have someone like Natalya taking on Charlotte, but I just don't know how I felt about the victory. But, I guess I get it, what they're trying to do here. I think Natalya will be a pretty decent foe for Naomi, and I think that's something that we can actually get behind if we want to, accept Naomi as our champion a little longer than just, the near future. If she faces Charlotte, I think immediately Charlotte outshines her, and that's not what they want right now. So, who knows, though? I think that, they could have a run for Becky Lynch coming up here, too, because, Becky Lynch got to look strong. Even though it was half a minute, she did get a chance to look strong. But, yeah, there you go. And then that, it's going to be interesting, too, to kind of find out what happens past this. We do still know that Carmella is the women's Money in the Bank champion, so she has that briefcase, and she could invoke that at any time. Maybe this is the time. Maybe it's the Natalya match that she's going to, invoke things. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the United States Championship title, and that, of course, is between AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens is trying to get his United States title back. This is a pretty fun match to watch. I think both guys did a pretty solid job. Really happy about some of the spots here in this match. The end here, though, is kind of controversial in a way. We had, Kevin Owens put on a crossface, and then you had AJ switch it up, and he gets the crossface on. Owens rolls him over, gets the 3 count, and it was over just like that. And, Owens, out of all the whole battle that he went through, all it took was kind of rolling over to get the 1, 2, 3. But he is now back as your United States champion. Once again, something I didn't really expect. I thought they were kind of done with him being the U.S. champion, but here we go again. Paul, tell me what you think.
This is where they sort of started to piss me off that I was actually watching the show. I had a lot of high expectations for this one, and they work basically a TV match all the way up until the shitty finish where they decide to pin both guys and then give the belt to Kevin Owens and all the confusion. And I'm really curious who in the back on SmackDown is like, you know what, Kevin Owens and AJ Styles, you're great wrestlers, but instead of just having you two go out there and just kick ass, we're going to come out here and we're going to give you some really shitty finishes. How does that make you feel? And they're like, well, you're paying us, so I guess we got to do it. And they're like, you're damn right. So there's that. I mean, great for Kevin. I don't give a shit anymore. Like, this is killing me softly at this point. It's about to get killing me loudly. But
oh, boy.
Wow. Woo. Not even Heather Graham can save the problem.
No chance.
So I think honestly, it's one of these things where if AJ had the belt longer, I think you could have done this finish. I think this is so bad to do when you just had AJ win, and then it's like, why? I know WWE, never mind, I shouldn't ask why, because Vince is all about moments. He doesn't care about whether this makes sense for your storyline or anything else. The wins don't matter. Nothing matters in on this show. If you haven't realized that by now, nothing matters on this show. They don't care who wins, because the next night, then the other guy is going to win. It's a traveling circus that just puts on shows. And so this is another thing going on here with... Why can't AJ just beat him? What would have been the problem with AJ just beating him? And then Kevin Owens could have just weaseled his way into a match again. Or if you really wanted Owens to have it and AJ not have the title, like... why have AJ win at Madison Square Garden? Period. Like, just so you can have that little moment of him talking and everything else. Did he really need that to prove that he's the best thing on SmackDown? Not really. It just, it's just, and then the match was just. It also doesn't help that probably Baron Corbin and Shinsuke killed the crowd, and then the ladies didn't have enough time to really get them going, even though they were chanting for Becky. So then you get this match, and it just feels kind of lethargic, and it's not as great as the first one. Nowhere near. And it's just kind of good. And it's like, wow, that's just way under what these two guys can do. They should be trying to outdo what they did, like New Day and Usos did. But that wasn't the plan here, and it just... I don't know. I guess maybe WWE thought, well, if the match isn't that big a deal, they won't really get mad about the finish. Well, it's more like, oh, thanks for giving us this like kind of okay match, and then, oh, thanks for this finish too.
Yeah, it's one of those matches where you sit here and say it should have been way better. You should have had a lot more things that really kind of surprised you, and you didn't get any of it. I mean, I still think there were some spots that were kind of fun. there were some high spots in it, but I think you guys are kind of hitting the nail on the head when you kind of say it was just kind of a their match that you've seen before. Because hey, if you tune into SmackDown Live, you've seen AJ and Owens, then there you go. That's the match you saw here. So that's kind of uninspiring, and you're on a pay-per-view like this, you should be doing way more and really getting some things together to make people care about watching the next time that you're on TV. They just weren't able to pull that off based on probably on the finish. I mean, I'm the whole Kevin Owens thing is really boggling my mind because he's such a great talent. He's a guy that really has done a good job. Yet here on SmackDown Live, he's so out of place, and I don't know if I can fix it myself. I just don't. I think being away from the U.S. title is a better fit for him, and hopefully they'll eventually move to that. But here we are. Well, let's go ahead and move on and talk about the flag match between Rusev and John Cena. And I know this is one that you both were waiting for and excited and salivating over. As you watched it, I don't know really you can salivate over any of this, but I think I salivated the most when it was over. But yeah, I mean, John Cena pulls off Captain America, saves the day when he gets Rusev away from putting his Bulgarian flag in the stand. He AAs Rusev through some tables and then proudly plants the American flag in the stand. Oh, Sean, tell me.
What a shocker.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a shocker that John Cena won, having a match with a guy that he actually had one good match out of the entire series that he had with Rusev previously. I think it was it Fastlane? I don't remember which one it was that they had a really good match, and the other two kind of were just blah. But this was the same. I actually didn't mind them changing it to where you have to go to the front of the stage instead of the whole let's take it off the pole and then we just use it and then you get a pin. But it just, I don't know. This didn't feel like there was ever a moment where Rusev was really gonna win. And then not to mention, it's like people don't really care about Rusev right now because all you've done is make him look dumb. And just, I don't know what they could have done other than having him go for the title immediately when he came over to SmackDown, but it's just like, they've really botched this. Like, bringing Rusev in, and this match was sort of the epitome of that. It's just, it was dull.
I think this was flawed entirely from concept to execution. Flag matches suck. They just do. Add in the fact that you have to elongate that by moving the flag and walking it up the ramp to get these really fake-ass drama moments that nobody, I don't care who you are, nobody could have pulled that off to make it look like you were actually about to plant the flag or anything like that. It was just, it looked awful. I think it was just performed awfully. This was just terrible. This might have been one of the worst matches I've seen all year. This was garbage. Waste of time. Bad 22 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, these matches only work when you have real heat with the two guys, right? Whether it's because of the country the other guy's from, or just you really hate the other guy and you really want to root for Cena. You know, Cena's in that stage where people are never going to fully root for him. It's either one or the other, and Rusev is... He's not even funny Rusev anymore where you get the like adult guys that want to cheer for him. Just nobody cares about him. So it's just like from the outset you're fighting against an uphill battle, and then you just never get this like, oh man, please don't have Rusev win. It's going to mean the end of something. Like, it's, again, you have been conditioned, if you're a fan, unless you're a child, which, I mean, hopefully that's not been taken away from you because, you know, suspension of disbelief and all that. But if you're an adult watching this, you've already been conditioned that it doesn't really matter what happens here, right? Like, if John Cena's going to go for the title, he's going to go for the title. And Rusev's going to go back to doing nothing. So, it's. I mean, obviously we'll see if that's what's going to happen between Cena and Jinder or whatever. But it's just, I wanted to sort of like this by them doing something different with it, but it's just this worked in the old days because you had real heat for Sergeant Slaughter or Iron Sheik or whatever. This doesn't work right now, especially with the political turmoil that's going on in the country. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Not even that. I mean, this entire thing exists essentially to set up Cena to challenge for the world title, which he doesn't need. You don't need him to be pro-America, rah, 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 going in to challenge Jinder. Like, God forbid we change up that feud any, right? I mean, ugh.
Paul.
Well, God forbid that Jinder doesn't do anything besides, or does something else besides be the, oh my God. And the thing is, Jinder's not even doing that. Jinder's about promoting India and saying he's got all the India people behind me and whatever. Like, he's not even going around just totally dogging the U.S. Like, what is, like Paul said, what's the point of this? It's not like, at least with the Kevin Owens or I mean, yeah, Rusev was doing it to an extent, but it's like, July 4th passed. It doesn't mean that the whole month is patriotic month.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole Battleground thing, everything had to be about patriotism. I'm like, okay, I get it. There was a Independence Day in this month, but oh boy. And the flag match was just a little much. And, like you were talking about Jinder Mahal and John Cena setting it up. It was like, okay, it's patriotic, but is it patriotic that you kind of have to feel like you've got to take the title away from the foreigner? I just don't. Yeah, it's just silly. But anyway, I mean, that is that flag match. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. It was not good. I couldn't care less watching it. Let's move to something usually we like talking about, and that is, of course, the Brazongo little video packages we get. And this one was interesting for the fact that, they were still supposed to find out who was the one who destroyed their office and who was doing all these crazy things, and they still have not found it out. They think it's the Ascension. Ascension show up, but apparently it's not the Ascension. And the next thing you know, Brazongo is laid out, and we're still waiting because there is a to be continued sign. So, I honestly, this is probably one of the first times I've found myself really not caring for these video packages, Paul.
I found this one just as entertaining as all the other ones, personally. I mean, the Ascension come in and sort of lie, essentially, for whatever reason, and it's sort of because, Fandango's like, hey, man, you were at that concert we gave you tickets for. Like, we know where you were. It wasn't you. And I found that fairly humorous. And maybe it's just because I wanted to like this so much after being absolutely crapped on by the previous segment. But I enjoyed this. I thought this was fine.
I also thought this was fine. I mean, it was fun. It's the same thing that they always do. They have, what is it, like the thing with, you were at the Eddie Money concert that we gave you to. I mean, it wasn't as good as some of the other ones, but it was still really enjoyable, and it seems like with the lights going out and all that stuff, I mean, unless they are totally bringing some team out of the blue, Harper and Rowan are kind of the only ones that make sense right now.
Yeah. And that's true. I just, man, I was watching this, and I was kind of maybe in a bad mood or something. Maybe I was just a little sour, because what I was watching in the matches before this, I was just kind of like, oh. And so that probably just put me on that part of, my thought process. But, in the end, I want to see more from those guys, and I love all their other stuff. So hopefully I get in maybe a better mood and want to see more. It's just at that time it was bad. So. But yeah, I mean, as much as we do love those guys, we have to move on, though, and talk about another big match that, we may be interested in or may not be interested in, and that is Sami Zayn facing off against Mike Kanellis. And this is one that I think all of us were kind of saying, well, the guy debuting is Mike Kanellis. He's going to be made to look strong. And they did give him some opportunities here to look pretty good. Sami Zayn definitely got his in, though. But, it really kind of shook out in a different way. We had Sami Zayn actually win the match here. I kind of was curious if they would do that, and they did do it. How do you feel, Sean, about that?
What was the point of this again? The heel loses in the first match, and we're supposed to care?
Technically the second.
Yeah, whatever. Second match. Sorry. Yes, you're right. It is the second match. How is it supposed to be a feud again? So you're gonna have Kanellis win on SmackDown, then have him lose at the pay-per-view that technically matters more, and there's not even Sami Zayn just flat out won. There wasn't even any controversy or anything like that. It's just, Lord, what the hell?
Sammy wins. I think he needed the win way more than Mike Kanellis, honestly, even though Mike should have won here if they wanted to keep the act strong. But maybe they've soured on it, like a lot of reports are saying. Maybe they realize that Mike is just boring. But either way, I didn't care. I was just happy to see Sammy get his hand raised at the end.
As much as I love Sami Zayn, I was just not sure I was understanding this right. I thought this kind of goes against the formula. Sami Zayn is a good guy, and I definitely enjoy, him playing that part. On the other side, Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis, they do a decent job, but Mike is not all that entertaining. He kind of does depend on Maria to do a lot of the legwork when it comes to talking. And in the ring action, he's okay, but I just never get blown away by what he's doing. And I'm just kind of like, okay, you're at this level because what reason? That's why I always ask myself. But, I hopefully they got better stuff in store for us. I just don't think this was one of the better efforts. Not really happy and thrilled with the match at all. Sami Zayn winning to me was still kind of I don't know. So, well, let's talk about the last match on this card. Let's talk about the main event because it's in a Punjabi prison. And that, of course, was Jinder Mahal with the title, holding it on, hoping he can keep it away from Randy Orton in this match. Yeah, really, I'll let you guys kind of talk about your favorite spots or some of the bigger spots. But what really, honestly, we get here is inside the first initial cell, it was just Randy Orton and Jinder Mahal. They both had to fight their way out. Once they met their way out, the Singh brothers got involved to the second part of the cage. And, of course, Randy Orton has a clear house, and, Jinder's still trying to fight to keep alive in this match. Randy Orton starts to climb the cell, and the next thing you know, the great Khali has re-shown up and decides he's going to keep Randy Orton at bay by holding his throat until Jinder Mahal can escape and he can retain his WWE Championship belt. Wow. We get Jinder winning, which may have been expected, but the Great Khali thing, very unexpected.
Where do you start with this whole mess? 28 minutes of solid boredom that the Singh brothers thought they might be able to save by killing themselves, and it didn't work. I think that's really about all I got. Randy was dull. He looked uninspired, like he didn't care.
Well, Randy's taking a break after this, so he was just ready to go.
I don't think he's been into this at all from the start either. And really, I think since they soured on the Wyatt feud, or, booking-wise at least, what happened to it, he's not here. He's not Randy. He's just Guy. And Jinder is trying, I think, doing everything he can to try to make this match matter, and it's just, he's not getting anything, and Jinder's just sort of left out to hang, and he's another guy that's just not as talented enough to really try to pull something out, and then you have this garbage-ass stipulation to work with, which this cage is just, it's not even worth the wood it's made of. I'm sorry. There's not a good match to be had in this thing. It's not. I don't know what to do. There's too much garbage in the way for you to try to enjoy what these guys are doing, and even the one like half the equation doesn't care, and then the Great Khali shows up, and okay.
Well, they were talking about the
Jinder's
Great Khali a lot, so it kind of makes sense in retrospect that he would show up. Don't know if this me. I mean, you'd assume he at least shows up on SmackDown.
Did you care? Like, I didn't care. I didn't care.
I thought it was cool that he was there. I mean, like, we haven't seen him in a while, and like, you know, it's. I had a
nothing.
I had a soft spot for him towards the end, so like it didn't bother me. It's a way for Jinder to win without Randy having to lose again, and you know, I agree with you. The Singh brothers almost died, and still nothing happened here. Just look, Jinder is not a good wrestler. He's not. And you have him as your WWE champion right now. We are beyond the point where your WWE champion should be a not good wrestler. This is a company that now has a baseline of you are a very good wrestler. Okay? You cannot have below that threshold be your main champion. Because it shows in these matches. And then Baron Corbin is the guy with the Money in the Bank briefcase, so that's going to just double it whenever he wins. So right now, and I almost feel like they're doing this on purpose to make SmackDown the B show, because Vince maybe got mad that Raw was starting to get caught up in the ratings. Because I feel like Raw's really starting to do stuff, and SmackDown's starting to, you know, flounder for a while, and you have to wonder if there's some collusion there after a while, but it's just, I don't know. For one, if you're in the crowd, you can't see what the hell's going on, you know, so I feel bad for you if you went and tried to watch this match, because you couldn't see anything, unless you're watching a monitor. So there's that, and it's just, there's, you know, Randy's got, like, he's there, but the lights aren't on, and you know, Jinder is just, he's not good enough, and he's main eventing, which, to be fair, you know, they should have, if they had the opportunity to, which because the structure is so big, they probably couldn't have this not main event, but it's still just. I don't know. I'm fine with the Great Khali if they want to do an Indian stable or whatever they're going to do now. Like, just... I don't know that this is really working so much in India so much either. Like, they're not going to buy Jinder Mahal merch. So just because they don't really have a lot of wrestling, we're going to cater to them and have SmackDown... like, just be centered around him, and he's fine on the microphone, but it's just, if he has to get in the ring, it's just kind of like, oh man, why?
I don't know if I call him a bad wrestler. I call him excessively average. I don't think there's anything standoffish about him. It's just, there's not a lot happening in the act, you know? There's you have the stable around him, you have all the smoke and mirrors, and it wasn't enough in this because half the equation didn't care, and nobody's invested in the feud. Like, it's boring. It's dull.
But at some point, where does that fall on Jinder, though?
How many matches has he had, I think, since he's won the title? Maybe 5 or 6, right? Ish?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Half of them against Randy, who arguably hasn't given a shit about anything since WrestleMania.
I feel like the only time he gets angry is when he's going to throw the things around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to literally really almost kill them.
And then everything else Jinder has done has been squashes. So I don't really know where the baseline is to compare and how much I can knock Jinder when the guy on the other side of the ring doesn't seem invested in trying to at least bring and cover his own side of the table when Jinder is having to work arguably his side of the table, trying to make it onto the other side and fill it out, and he just can't because he can barely fill out his own. So it's just bad. I think from the word go, and this is what we're faced with: is 30 minutes of just awful television that nobody wanted to sit through.
I know, but this is what happens when you have a guy that's been a jobber for his whole life, and then he's now all of a sudden thrust into the main event picture, and perhaps Randy Orton is not the biggest fan of that either.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're going to have some resentment there. And
I mean, Jinder hasn't beaten anybody worth a shit either, right? I mean, he's only won squashes. That's it. Since he's won the title, and he's won everything else by
right, but who's he going to go around beating? Is he going to be AJ?
He's got to beat somebody. He has to. That's the only way people are going to care. He has to beat somebody.
I mean, the problem is there's so few faces. He's not going to beat Nakamura. He's not going to beat AJ. So who? And if he beats Cena, that's a miracle. So who is he beating?
Surprisingly, maybe he should have beat Randy clean here. I mean, and if Randy doesn't want to do it, have him beat him over the head until he can't get up anymore.
Yeah.
You got to do something for this guy because you're just throwing him out there and letting him cut the same promo, which isn't working. Squashes aren't working. Smoke and mirrors isn't working. Let him beat somebody. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'm just firmly off the. I wanted Jinder to succeed, and I was firmly on the Jinder champion. Let's have a different person. I'm off the track now. Just I don't want to see the title on Cena again, but
that's what's going to happen.
Well, what do you do? I mean, that's what you got. So
just prepare yourself.
That's not a bad decision. I'm just saying that's what they're doing, and that's it,
Yeah. Oh man, it's a whole mess, and I really wish that Jinder Mahal would get more of a fair shake, and really people kind of buying into what he's doing. But I mean, it's not for everybody, and it is a summertime feud, so you're going to have a little bit of a lacking number at times. But I mean, I think overall what we got here was kind of interesting because, now you add a guy like Great Khali in. You really have curious minds on what he's going to do next and how he's going to help Jinder and all that stuff. And, I mean, it was a definite big surprise for the crowd. I think people at home that got the internet buzzing over what's going on at Battleground. Everything that they need.
Aren't you excited for when he just comes in and does his chop and then he gets out of the ring and that's all he can do?
No.
My favorite part about it is watching him trying to bend his knees. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder
he still has knees.
I know. You even think
poor
that.
Guy. No wonder there is talk of a superstar shakeup happening after SummerSlam because SmackDown is in dire need of do something.
Yeah, they definitely are. They could definitely use a makeover. And, I mean, it was proof in the pudding, too. I mean, we even heard reports that people were walking out during this main event of Battleground. So, a makeover would probably do it well and get some people excited about other folks instead of maybe the same ones they have now. So, but yeah, that wraps up Battleground 2017 for us, guys. Of course, we thank you all for joining us tonight. We wanted to make sure we got this review for you guys. So before we get out of here, we're going to give you a rating, which I'm excited about because I can't wait to see what these two guys give it. So, Sean, we're going to start with you. What did you rate this show?
Oh, boy. Let me think here. You had the great match that started it off. And then you had AJ and Owens, which was barely on the side of good. And that's about it. This was probably one of the worst shows WWE has put on. And I know there's going to be people that we associate with that had Harry been around, they would have had their own show, probably pretty much saying the opposite of what we are saying on this show. So, sadly, they did not get there, so you get the two different distinct voices here, because they were really going at us hard about what the hell's what did we watch a different pay-per-view from everybody else. But I think I'm gonna go like a 3. There's just not a lot redeeming about this show. I mean, get 2 points for the New Day and Usos, and you get a half a point for AJ and Owens, and between I think it's nice that the Great Khali is there, and then Fandango and Breeze, and there you go. There's your 3 points.
I'm at a 3-2. This is just an awful show. 30 minutes maybe worth your time, and that might be a little generous. The rest of this is either dull, rushed, or just a shit show, and nobody should have had to sit through this, let alone pay $10 for it.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Well, thankfully you pay the $10 for other things.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
Well,
But if this is the only reason you're getting the network for, you're out $10 with nothing to show.
Yeah.
This might be the worst wrestling show we've seen all year, at least that we've covered on this show.
Wow. That's saying something. And, you guys are,
Well,
pretty
really,
much,
there hasn't been anything this close to this? I mean, it'd probably be another WWE pay-per-view, and it's probably like one other one, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, but, Slammiversary was really good. New Japan has been, in the stratosphere with how good everything they've done has been, and, ROH has been good to great as well, so, there's not a lot else to compare it to. WWE is just kind of having this one of these years where it's just kind of like, we're trudging along here. Great Balls of Fire is an outlier, really.
Yeah, that's true. And, it's kind of sucky because you are leading in such a big, high-profile pay-per-view, but it's kind of the norm, it looks like, for them. And they're probably completely happy with it. It's just, I'm not, not at all. And not only that, rating it for me was kind of hard, too, because I was looking at it and said, man, I can't give it a 10, can't give it a 9, can I give it an 8? No, I just got to go all the way out of the other end of the spectrum. I think you guys are right. 3 has got to be where we land here. Just a letdown. I expected way more, and it was almost like they were playing hot potato with the titles. No, I don't want to hold it. You got this month, and I didn't like that. Anyway. But that is Battleground for you guys. We once again want you to know, make sure you go subscribe to Wrestling to the Max or to the W2M Network. Also, don't forget to go check us out at W2Mnet.com as well as From1mania.com. Don't forget also the YouTube channel and, of course, the Facebook group. So lots of great content. Come join, come find us, and we will catch you guys down the line soon. And also, don't forget, we'll also be doing some Wrestling to the Max episodes this week. A lot of fun. Don't miss any of those. Those will be episodes 257, Part 1 and Part 2 this week, and the rest of our great reviews. Until then, see you guys later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.